Hello YouTubers, Joe Kersey here on Sunday, August 17th, 2014 at 16:15 in the afternoon, Eastern Daylight Time. Uh, this is a Sunday, so of course I went to church. Now, I went to 8 o'clock service, and as is often the case in the summertime, we were a relatively small band of 18, counting all the clergy and, well, the clergy, the two clergy, Roseanne and Karen. So Karen presided and Roseanne preached, and Roseanne did another magnificent job of preaching. I've never heard her give a bad sermon. And she's really good, because she takes it all from the scripture. It's not stuff that has to do with popular culture and stuff like that. Now, you had the Old Testament reading today was part of the Joseph saga there in Genesis. The Joseph saga, interestingly, takes up well over 20% of Genesis. So there must be a lot of stuff in there that we're supposed to ferret out. It's generally just sort of treated as a early version of what amounts to a novel by some of the more modern theologians. In fact, the Education for Ministry Year 1 program that I did for 9 months here back in 2009, run out of the University of the South, actually calls it the Joseph novel. All right. Well, all right. Call it that if you will, but it's more than that, actually. Anyway, without getting becalmed in a side bayou here. This had to do with Joseph's reconciliation with his brothers, who had sold him into slavery rather than killing him. And then Joseph had been sold to the captain of Pharaoh's guard, Potiphar, and then there's this whole thing about him being set up by Potiphar's wife. Interestingly, Potiphar's wife may have had a reason to really have the hots for Joseph, because the Septuagint translation has him also, instead of an officer and captain of the guard, Pharaoh's officer and captain of the guard is what most translations say. But the Septuagint says Pharaoh's eunuch and captain of the guard. And the Greek in the Septuagint is cognate for our English word spade, spay somebody. Interestingly. Again, that's neither here nor there. So the real topic of this sermon was reconciliation and what it means to be truly reconciled with somebody. Obviously, to ultimately be reconciled with somebody, you have to go through various steps. And the first is a mutual forgiveness. Forgiveness of one person for the wrong that had been done them, and then acceptance of forgiveness by the person who had done the wrong. Or perhaps forgiving, that person forgiving the other person for what had been perceived to be a wrong done to them. And but true reconciliation can't really happen until there's a true mutual love for each other in terms of Christian love, as love for one's neighbor, which doesn't necessarily mean you have to like them. It means you have to love them in the Christian sense of loving one's neighbor. And then, after that, then, to achieve true reconciliation, there has to be understanding. Mutual understanding of the positions, which doesn't mean you have to accept necessarily that position, but you have to understand that position. So Roseanne made a couple of, she made that she developed that sequence. I threw the bit in about intermediate step of Christian love. But she made the point that Joseph actually jacked these guys around for a while. They came down looking for food, and Joseph had control of all the food supply, and he played with them a bit. He tried to, he sort of tried to set them up. Well, he didn't really try to set them up, but they thought that he had tried to set them up, and then not only once but twice, and had him in prison for a few days and kept one brother hostage, and then when the younger brother got down, he tried to make it appear like he had been set up, so he jacked these guys around. So finally, when Jacob/Israel returns, which is the third trip back for a lot of these guys, or the third time down anyway. They imply there's true reconciliation, and it's interesting in that when Joseph spills the beans here, in the final verse of today's reading was Genesis 45, verse 15. Moreover, he kissed all his brethren and wept upon them. And after that, his brethren talked with him. We'll see the true communication is where the understanding can start taking place, and that's when true reconciliation can happen. The parallel story, which was in today's gospel, was Jesus talking to the Canaanite woman who said, "Have mercy on me, son of David." And Jesus says, "Well, I'm only allowed to go to the lost sheep of Israel. We can't toss food before the children's food in front of swine." And well, Jesus has got a fair amount of bad press from that, even among the crowd that isn't sort of automatic Jesus haters. And excuse me. And then he and this woman engage in a certain amount of little colloquy, somewhat reminiscent of Abraham trying to converse with God, try to change God's mind, that sort of thing. And it seems that this woman did change Jesus' mind, certainly the human nature of Jesus' mind. Will, if you probably better said. And but it happened with after they had talked, and then there was some mutual understanding there. And so Roseanne says, well, Jesus then had a new larger understanding of why he was sent into the world. At least the human part of Jesus, nature of Jesus, had a larger understanding of why he was sent into the world. And excuse me, she said that was analogous to the situation with Joseph and his brothers, because obviously Jesus is in a power relationship with this woman. Joseph was in a power relationship with his brothers. I suppose modern parallels would be things like the Truth and Reconciliation commissions down there in South Africa after apartheid ended. And possibly some way that Israel and these Palestinian people can maybe reach some degree of reconciliation and understanding. Although I ain't going to hold my breath on that one. I mean, that stuff's been going on for over 4,000 years. So that was it for today, and that's been very benign. It's always good to have a benign day. So on that note, bye-bye, YouTubers.